Hi everyone, it's Miss Akvari in the library here to talk with you during advisory. And as we're getting closer to spring break, we have just a few announcements from the library that we want to let you know about. And then I have a few book recommendations for you as well. So the first thing is we are getting ready to hold a book fair in the library during the week of conferences. Many of you will have a chance to come in and maybe even look at it with your English class. And this is exciting for us here in the library because it's the first one we've had in 2 years. So it's kind of nice to have that getting back to normal feeling, have a chance for people to find books that they like and purchase for home, which is always great. Even if you decide you're not interested in purchasing, which is totally fine, we would love to have you take a look at what we have on the book fair and let us know if you see something there that you think the library should purchase, because that's another thing we do with some of the books on the book fair is we try to see which ones look great and put them in the library for all of us to read for free. So just a reminder about the book fair. Another thing to know is March is Women's History Month, and we have a display with all kinds of great books with really important women that you should know about, books that are written by really great women authors. And so we would love for you to take a look at that display. It's right inside the door when you walk in, so it's easy to see. And if you see something on there that looks good, we'd love for you to check out a book for Women's History Month. And then the last thing to kind of think about is with spring break coming up, spring break is kind of a different situation for all of us. Some of us might be really excited for the time off. We might have a trip planned if we're really lucky. For others, maybe it means we don't get to see our friends for a while. Maybe it means we're kind of stuck doing chores or taking care of younger brothers or sisters. So not everyone has the same experience for spring break. One thing that might be true for most of us, though, is it might give us just a little bit more time to read. So I'd like to give you a few recommendations. And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about books that kind of take us to a different place, right? So the first book that I wanted to tell you about, this is called Cinder. It's by the author Marissa Meyer. It's the beginning of a series called The Lunar Chronicles. And this book takes you to a completely different place because the world that our characters live in is a completely made up, fantastical future world. And the other interesting thing is this book, Cinder, is loosely based on the tale of Cinderella that we all know. And so in this case, the Cinderella character is Cinder. She has an evil stepmother, just like in the fairy tale. She has a younger stepsister, just like in the fairy tale. But what's very different here is Cinder herself isn't 100% human. She's a cyborg. So she's sort of like a human with some mechanical and technological upgrades. Okay, and she actually uses that for her job. She has kind of a mechanical shop. She can fix just about anything that exists, including things with a lot of technology. So that's kind of what she does. In Cinder's world, there is a war going on between the people of Earth and the people on the moon. So that's something very different. And the handsome prince is named Prince Kai, and he's kind of stuck trying to figure out, how do I protect us from moon people? The other thing that's happening in Cinder's world that maybe we can relate to is there's a terrible plague going around, a plague, an infectious disease. And in fact, Cinder's younger stepsister catches this plague, and Cinder's stepmother reacts to that by sending Cinder off for research. So it's a really interesting story. You can see the elements of the Cinderella fairy tale in there. If you like science fiction, this would be a great book for you. Or if you like a really interesting, different kind of series, I would recommend that you take a vacation to Cinder's world. The next book I wanted to tell you about is a realistic fiction book, so it's things that could really happen. And this is the story of someone who took a trip, but things went horribly wrong. Okay, which we never really want to happen when we're out of town. But in this book, our main character has lost her mother. So a year ago, she lost her mom to a random shooting. And understandably, she and her dad are grieving. They're very, very upset. But Nora, the main character, she would really like things to get back to normal now. It's been a year and she would like to be seeing people and socializing and kind of find her way back to happiness. Her dad's way of coping right now is to keep them isolated. And so they actually go on a trip into the Arizona desert, a camping trip, a hiking trip, and they go to explore this thing called a slot canyon. And you can see that pictured right here. So this really deep, really narrow canyon. And they're climbing in there and they're camping in there when sort of the unthinkable or worst case scenario happens and there's a flash flood. And as you could see, in a flash flood, there's really nowhere for the water to go, so the water rises really quickly. And what happens is Nora's dad and all of their supplies get washed away in this quick-moving water. And now Nora is stuck to survive on her own in the Arizona desert. So she has to worry about getting dehydrated, and she has to worry about venomous snakes and scorpions and all kinds of other things that are there. Not to mention that she's all by herself and has to find a way to get help. So if you like realistic fiction, if you like survival stories, or if you're just interested in the story of someone else's trip going badly, you might consider reading The Canyon's Edge. And then the last book I wanted to tell you about, sometimes especially when I'm taking a break from school or work, I like kind of a vacation read for my brain. And what I mean by that is something that's kind of easy to read and I don't have to think really hard. And so we just got a few books in this Bad Guys series into the library. And if you've ever read any of these, they are very funny kind of graphic novels. And in this, the big bad wolf is sort of the main character. And he's pulling together a gang of sort of bad guys and trying to train them to be good guys and fix their bad image problem. I read this in a pretty short amount of time. It had me laughing out loud. If you like books like Dogman or Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or even thinking back to elementary school, like Captain Underpants, stuff like that, you will definitely get a good vacation by reading Bad Guys. All right, so I hope you all have a good and safe spring break. I hope you have a chance to stock up on some reading material for the time that we have off of school, and we'll be excited to see you back once we get back from our break.